Victor, who is playing at the beach, suddenly hears a scream. He looks up and sees a woman drowning out in the ocean. She thrashes wildly, bikini-clad, radiant, otherworldly, even in panic. Her red hair coils like seaweed. The sun flares behind her. Victor drops everything and bolts. No one else is around. He doesn't hesitate. He dives in. The waves nearly swallow him, but he reaches her. She clings to him, and together they just barely make it back to shore. Victor, who was barely 12, lay flat on the sand, chest heaving, lungs burning. Above him stood the woman he had just saved. She smiled down at him and said, "You saved me, my sweet darling." Victor, still shaking from the waves, could only stare up at her and whisper, "You're the prettiest woman I've ever seen." She laughed, not out of mockery, but something deeper, something that knew more than he ever could. Then she whispered, almost reverently, "Let me give you something to remember me by." She just stared. Her eyes locked onto his, and everything in Victor's body went still. Victor's pulse quickened. A cold sweat broke across his skin. It was almost like he was hypnotized, and her gaze awakened something strange in his blood. He tried to look away, but he couldn't. Then she leaned in for a gentle kiss on his cheek. "I'll come back again when you're ready." Then, in a blink, she was gone. Victor didn't understand what had happened, but his body did. Something had changed. Something ancient in him was brought to life. 6 years had passed by, but everything else changed. Victor grew older, but not stronger. A rare blood disorder gripped his body. He fainted without warning, bruised at the lightest touch. Months of school slipped by as he was mocked, bullied, and made fun of by everyone. His professors turned a blind eye, and everyone around him turned cruel. They whispered as he passed, laughed as he limped. One boy shouted to his friends, "Careful, don't breathe near Victor. He might disintegrate." Victor kept his hood up, his eyes down, his voice still silent. He had no friends, no voice, and no strength. From the boy who once saved a life, he had become the boy no life wanted around. And that's when Mike's school royalty, muscle-bound, cruel, made Victor his favorite punching bag. Today, Mike's gang of jock goons burst into laughter as Victor scrambled to his feet. "What's the matter, Victor?" Mike sneered. "Does your little blood disease make you too weak to fight back?" Victor's face burned with embarrassment. What could he say? Mike was right. Victor glanced around, hoping for a teacher or anyone who might come in and save him. But all he saw was an audience of students, ready to laugh at his humiliation. Mike's goon jeered him on. "Send him to the school nurse!" Victor gritted his teeth. He wasn't scared of these guys, not really. But he knew better than to fight back. One good hit to his fragile body would mean another ambulance ride. Just as Mike raised his hand for another swing, a voice silenced everyone in the hall. "Hey, Mike!" Ruby's voice rang out. All the heads turned in unison to see Ruby Scarlet, the most beautiful, popular girl in school, and utterly out of Victor's league. Hell, she was out of everyone's league. She stood at the end of the hallway, her fiery red hair draped down her shoulders, and her emerald green eyes scanned the scene with thinly veiled disgust. "Wow," she said as she strutted toward them. "Is this really what the captain of the basketball team does in his free time? Beats up sick kids? Very heroic." Mike tried to hide his embarrassment. "Ruby, this isn't... Save it!" She waved him off, turning her attention to Victor, who was still slumped against the lockers. His heart jumped when she looked his way, like her beauty was aimed right at him. He didn't think she even knew his name. Then Ruby grabbed his collar, yanked him up, and kissed him, not a peck, but a full, long, time-stopping kiss. The crowd gasped. Mike stormed off. Victor's brain shut down. She pulled back but held onto his arms and turned to the stunned crowd with a voice that made his knees buckle. "Victor is the only guy in this school who matters," she declared. "The rest of you are just extras." The hallway exploded into murmurs, and Mike punched a locker as he stormed away. Ruby leaned in, lips grazing his ear. "You're more important than you know. Meet me here in 1 hour. Don't tell anyone." She slipped a small piece of paper in his hand with an address. Victor swallowed hard. He had to be dreaming. The hottest girl in the school wanted to meet him somewhere? He could hardly contain his excitement, but put on his best cool guy face and nodded. The school's lunch period began, with all the students sharing the hot gossip of the new school legend, except Victor was nowhere to be found. He had snuck out of the back of the school, not wanting to be late and blow his shot with Ruby. Victor approached an abandoned apartment building matching the address Ruby had given him. "This is the place? No idea why such a beauty would want to meet me here?" he thought. He noticed the front door of the building was ajar. He slowly crept up to it, then went inside. Victor stepped inside and closed the door behind him. When he saw Ruby, his breath caught. She stood in the center of the room in a gothic gown that hugged her body in all the right places, leaving little to the imagination. Her red hair draped over her innocently, and she looked into his eyes and flashed a smile. It was truly a surreal moment. Victor swallowed hard, suddenly insecure of his own faded jeans and scuffed sneakers. On the ground around her sat small candles, all evenly laid out, as if forming a circular pattern on the wide, dusty floor. Some incense burned in a small golden vase, producing scents that Victor had never smelled before in his life. "You came," she said, her voice soft but tinged with satisfaction. Yeah," Victor stammered. "You said to meet, so here I am." Ruby stepped closer, her emerald eyes gleaming with something Victor couldn't quite place. "Were you followed?" He blinked. "No, I don't believe so." "Good. The Inquisition has many spies." Before Victor could inquire further, she began caressing his arm. Her touch sent shivers through him. "I see something in you no one else does. Strength, potential, and, something more." Victor's brain scrambled to keep up. "Are you sure you're talking about me? I think you've got the wrong guy." Ruby smiled, a slow, sultry smile that made his knees weak. "Oh, I most certainly have the right guy." Before he could press further, she pulled him in for a kiss, but this wasn't like the one at school. This was slower, deeper, and more intense, leaving him completely breathless. When she finally pulled away, she didn't let go. Instead, she leaned in close and whispered into his ear. "Victor," she purred, "there's something you need to know about me." Victor blinked, struggling to focus. "What's that?" She stepped back, her grin spread wide to reveal two glistening fangs. "I'm a vampire," she said with a seductive hiss. "You're a what?" Victor's mind was reeling. Was this some kind of joke? "You heard me," she said with a playful chuckle, running her finger down this chest. "And tonight, Victor, you're going to become one too." Victor stumbled back on wobbly legs. "You're joking, right? This is just some kind of prank. There's no such thing as vampires." Ruby's eyes shimmered as she flashed her fangs again. "Does this look like a joke to you?" Victor couldn't deny the sharp reality of them. They were real. "Okay," he managed to say, his voice cracking. "So you're a vampire. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're special, Victor." She cupped his face. "Your blood. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered." Victor swallowed hard. No girl had ever looked at him the way Ruby was looking at him now. She licked her lips as she continued. "Your blood is rare. You have no idea how powerful it is. It's perfect. I've been searching for someone like you for longer than you can imagine." "You mean my blood disorder?" Victor asked. "Your blood isn't a disorder, Victor," she said, tracing his chest with a red-painted fingernail. "It's a gift, a treasure. It's been prophesied. You are meant to be a savior." Victor nearly fell over. This had to be a joke. Victor, the scrawniest, weakest kid in school who had more bruises than homework, couldn't possibly be this legend she spoke of. Ruby leaned in closer. "You need to trust me. I want to turn you into a vampire, but not just any vampire, my partner, my husband." Victor choked. "Your husband?" Ruby pressed herself against him, in a pillar behind him, her chest feeling his heart pounding. "Victor, you are to be my husband, and together we can do anything. Together the Inquisition won't stand a chance." "But you don't even know me," he nervously muttered. "I have eternity to get to," she cooed into his ear. Victor's pulse thundered. This was insane, completely, utterly insane. It was shocking enough that the most popular girl in school even knew his name. Now she's telling him she wants to be his vampire bride, and legends spoke of someone with his blood type being a savior. But Ruby's eyes burned with a hypnotic intensity, and the way she looked at him like he was the only thing in the world that mattered made it impossible to resist. "This is crazy," he muttered. "Crazy," she echoed, "but true." She brushed her lips against his. "Say yes, Victor. Say yes, and I'll give you everything you've ever wanted. Strength, power, me." Victor hesitated, his body warring with his mind. But she was irresistible. Against every ounce of logic, he whispered, "Yes." Ruby's red lips curved into a wide smile. "Good, then let's begin." Ruby took him by the hand and brought him over to a small chaise, covered with a tarp. She removed the tarp and gently laid him down onto it. She reached into her dress and pulled out a small silver dagger, the blade almost humming. "Wait!" Victor said, his stomach twisting as she stepped closer. "What exactly does this ritual involve?" "Well, don't freak out or anything, but..." Ruby's expression turned serious. "I'll have to kill you, Victor, but don't worry," she added quickly. "Through the ritual, you'll be reborn, stronger, immortal, forever by my side." "Kill me? This is absolutely insane. I don't know if I want this," he squeaked. "Trust me, Victor," Ruby assured him. "I would never let anything happen to you. This is the only way. I need you. We need each other." Victor searched her face for any trace of mockery, but only saw conviction. The way she looked at him made him feel larger than life, like he was the center of her universe, and if some ancient power really was buried inside him, wouldn't he want to know? "My whole life, I've felt like a mistake, but now I could feel like a myth. A legend," he thought. He had nothing to lose. "Okay," he said. "Let's do it." Ruby smiled back. "All right," she whispered excitedly. "Here goes nothing." She picked up a dagger and ran it down her open palm, wincing slightly as the crimson blood began to pour down her wrist. She let it drip into a small, ornate vial, then tilted Victor's head back on the armrest of the chaise. "This might feel intense," she murmured. She leaned over him in an attempt to drip the blood from her mouth into his, when suddenly her eyes shifted to the front door. The lights in the room, which had not had power in quite some time, suddenly began to flicker, being brought to life. Victor noticed and slowly sat up, while Ruby now stood, dagger in hand, watching the front door. The candles began to flicker. "What's happening?" Victor asked, his voice trembling. "She's found you too." Suddenly a crash of lighting came in through the large, domed skylight and struck the center of the lobby floor, barely missing Ruby. The lightning danced in the center of the room until a pair of long, slender, beautifully wicked legs stepped out of the beam. The lighting fizzled back up into the sky in the blink of an eye. In the center of the room stood a lone woman with short blonde hair, piercing eyes, and an hourglass figure. "Well, well," she spoke. "I thought I smelled something delicious. Thankfully, it's not the wedding cake and just the groom." Victor saw the fangs peeking from her lips as she stepped toward them. Victor froze. Her beauty was paralyzing. "Who the hell is she?" Victor shouted. Ruby stepped in front of Victor protectively. "Her name is Sasha Folger, heiress to the noble Folger vampire clan, and my former best friend." Sasha bowed with a graceful flourish. "That's ancient history, Ruby. I see you're still playing high school. How quaint." Ruby's fangs gleamed as she hissed. "What are you doing here?" Sasha's eyes flicked hungrily to Victor. "Him, obviously. That blood of his. Oh, it's magnificent. The power it could unlock." She licked her lips. "You should have known you wouldn't get to keep him all to yourself." "I'm sorry," Victor blurted out, rising to his feet. "But what the hell is happening?" Ruby ignored him, her focus razor-sharp on Sasha. "He's mine," she growled, arcs of crackling ice crystals dancing along her fingertips. "I found him first." Sasha laughed as her fists glowed blue and ignited into static lightning. "Do you know who you sound like? Possession didn't look good on her, and it certainly doesn't look good on you." The tension snapped like a rubber band. Ruby lunged, her body sparkling with sharp ice shards as she unleashed a lightning bolt aimed at Sasha's chest. Sasha casually waved her hand and summoned a wall of lightning to meet it. The two forces collided in an explosive thunderclap that sent Victor stumbling backwards into an old credenza. In the center of the empty lobby, the fiercely beautiful vampire warriors circled each other. Ruby saw an opening and pounced, her knife-like ice shards arching through the air with pinpoint precision. Sasha countered with spiraling branches of lightning, evading Ruby's attacks like a lioness toying with her prey. Victor gawked, equal parts terrified and mesmerized by the seductive woman's bouncing curves. He had never been the center of anyone's attention, and now two impossibly beautiful, incredibly dangerous vampire women were fighting over him like he was the last slice of cake at a party. "Is this real life?" he muttered under his breath. Sasha launched forward, leaving trails of electricity in her wake, like a lightning storm. Ruby darted to the side, her icicles slicing through the bolts, and retaliated with a spinning kick that sent a blizzard of surging ice toward Sasha. Sasha raised both hands, forming an electric barrier, but the force sent her skidding back. "You're strong," Sasha admitted with a tinge of grudging respect, "but not strong enough." She thrust her hands forward, summoning twin jets of even more lightning that spiraled into a vortex. Ruby countered with a burst of deadly ice clouds, and the two elements clashed in a dazzling explosion that shook the entire building so intensely that all the rodents and bats instantly began to run out of the shaking structure. When the smoke cleared, both women were panting. "He deserves to be with someone who can actually help mold him into the savior we need him to be, not just eye candy," whipped Sasha. "Please, you could never love him the way he needs to be loved. You only want him to topple the Inquisition so you can achieve true power," Ruby snapped back. "Enough!" screamed Victor, stopping both deadly females in their tracks and proving that beneath his meek surface, he also had some commanding bark and even some bite. He continued, "Let's pause here. You're telling me I am so special both of you want to be with me?" "Of course, Victor," Ruby said. "You're not just special, you're extraordinary." Sasha shoved herself in front of Ruby and stood before Victor. "You're destined for greatness, Victor. And with me, you'll fulfill that destiny." Victor pinched the bridge of his nose. "Okay, hold on, let me get this straight. Two insanely powerful, beautiful vampire women want to marry me, and I'm supposed to... what? Choose between you?" Ruby smirked. "Obviously, and the choice is me." "Not a chance. If he must choose, he'll choose the one who can best help him become what he's meant to be." Sasha shot back. Suddenly something clicked in Victor's mind, and he had an idea. He stood and shouted, "Enough!" The room froze as the two women paused, turning to him, their supernatural auras simmering down. "If I'm supposed to be your hero," Victor said, stepping into the center of the room, "fighting over me isn't helping. You both want me for my potential, right?" Ruby and Sasha exchanged wary glances. He took a breath. "If bonding with both of you makes me stronger, then that's what I need. I can't choose. Not if I'm meant to save your race." Violet raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting—" Victor shrugged. "Look, at the very least, two heads are better than one. If this Inquisition you keep speaking of really is that powerful, let's at least work together for the time being. I won't pick favorites." Of course, in his mind, he secretly wanted to marry them both, but he was still too timid and shy to even suggest that. A silly fantasy, he thought. The two stared at him, their powers dimming. Finally, Sasha nodded. "Desperate times call for desperate measures. If this unlocks your power, I'll agree." Ruby crossed her arms, then muttered, "Fine, but don't expect me to care too much about her." Victor exhaled. "Great!" He gestured to the wrecked ritual circle. "Can we finally get this over with?" The two future brides shared a look, then nodded. Victor lay back on the chaise as the circle flared to life. Ruby and Sasha stood over him, fangs gleaming. "Stay very still," Ruby whispered. "This will only hurt for a second." Sasha smiled. The two immortal goddesses reared back, but before they could sink their fangs, a blaze of fire lit up the room as a demanding and psychotic voice echoed. "How dare you try to claim him for yourself? He was mine from the moment he was born. He belongs to me. He's my darling!" The curtains blew back and turned to ash as the striking figure strolled into the room, fire encompassing the marble tile with each footstep. She was as striking as she was intimidating, dressed in a form-fitting white gown that glowed like an inferno. Her violet eyes glistened like sapphires. Her face was flawless as the driven snow, and framed by long ringlets of flawless silver hair. "Oh God, Violet!" Sasha spat. "Stay back, he's ours!" yelled Ruby. Violet's face was hot and furious as the flames that followed her as she stepped forward. "You bitches, yours? Yours!" The moment he opened his beautiful eyes, he was mine. Touch him again and I will burn you both alive. To find out what happens next, download Pocket FM and listen to all episodes of My 3 Vampire Wives.